Hey everyone, my name is Perry and welcome back to the cassette phase. So today's subject, which you obviously already know, you saw the thumbnail, but it's sneakers. The shoes that we wore as kids in the 80s and the 90s. And I know what you're thinking, are we really going to talk about old shoes today? And here's the thing, hear me out. The stuff that we wear can take us back. You know, it can give us those nostalgic vibes that we're always seeking. In fact, I try to wear something every day that is a little reminder of those simple times. Whether that's a vintage t-shirt or like a retro watch, or like we're going to talk about today, retro sneakers. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I wanted to wear the same shoes as some of the athletes that I was seeing on TV. You know, the obvious one is Michael Jordan, right? But also, you know, other guys too, you know, Bo Jackson, Charles Barkley, Scottie Pippen, even like Andre Agassi. So I'm going to take you over to the rug here and we're going to talk about some of my favorite retro shoes. Pairs that I have, some pairs that I wish I had, and hopefully we'll unlock a memory or two for you along the way. So if you'd be willing to sit back and listen to some random dude on YouTube talk about old shoes, come hang out. Okay everyone, welcome back to the rug. Let's go ahead and talk about some sneakers. The first pair of shoes that I want to show you is probably my most frequently worn pair. I wear these things all the time, and that is the Reebok Club C. Now before we get into the shoes, just take a look at this box and tell me that doesn't take you back a little bit. The athlete's shoe. You know, this sneaker originally came out in 1985, and I don't think they've changed the box. I think they've had this same box the whole time. And I actually have two pairs because, like I said, I wear them all the time. And so when I find them, you know, for super cheap on sale, I just had to grab another pair because I wear these things out. Because they go with everything. They really do. Now, I do remember these from when I was a kid. And I remember thinking, I don't want those. They're so plain. And I thought that this was just the shoe that, you know, people wore to the country club when they wanted to play tennis. But now I actually like that they're plain. And the thing about these is, one, they're not expensive. But the leather quality on here, for what you're paying, I don't know if you can see that, but this is like soft, like buttery leather on an inexpensive shoe. And this is actually the Club C vintage model, and it's actually a mid. I think the standard one is a lower version, like a little bit lower, lower top, but they're basically the same thing. Now I will say that I had to put an insole in these. You know, there's definitely more to comfort than just the cushioning. But these were a little flat. The upper, which with this soft leather, is super comfortable and breaks in so nice that I can get past the fact that it's not the most cushioned shoe in the world. But yeah, adding that insole just helped enough to make these things actually really comfortable. So that's the pair I've been wearing. And here's a brand new one that hasn't been worn yet, so you can kind of see the difference. You know, so right out of the box, the leather isn't creased yet, but it like I said, it wears in so nicely over time. Just a great classic shoe, comfortable. It's definitely from the 80s, and it just takes me back every time I wear them. Okay, next up, let's take a look at a New Balance model. A shoe that originally came out as a basketball sneaker back in 1989, and that is the New Balance 550. And tell me that doesn't just have a great 80s look to it. Now, a little hack that I like to do on some of these is put some off-white laces in there, and that can make them look actually older, a little older, you know, almost like a true vintage. And obviously these are re-releases. You know, I used to look for actual vintage sneakers from the 80s and the 90s, and they just don't hold up. You know, they're not really wearable. They're kind of decomposing at this point, sadly. But these re-releases, they do the trick. Now this isn't as comfortable as the first shoe that I showed you. You know, you can kind of see the leather is a little stiffer. It's not nearly as soft as it was on that Reebok, but they're wearable, you know, for around, you know, just around town, you know, they're fine. A lot of these older shoes, they don't have the best technology in them like we see today. There's not like a really cushioned foam, you know, cushioning system in there. There's no air or anything like that. Basically just, you know, it is what it is, but we got by back in the day, and I'm still fine wearing them now. I just think the 550 just has a really great 80s look to it. I'm gonna see if I can show you. I mean, take a look at the tongue and tell me that just doesn't look like 1989. You know, it's like that foam material. Yeah, love this pair. Now, sticking with New Balance for this next pair, let's go back to a model that originated in 1988, I believe as a running shoe. And obviously now it's more of a casual, just lifestyle sneaker, but probably their most common and most popular model, but that is the 574. And I've got a couple different ones here. Now the 574 is such an iconic, you know, sneaker silhouette. You see it everywhere. I feel like you see it most often in gray, right? A lot of New Balances come in that gray color. You know it when you see it, and I like that too. But for whatever reason, on the 574, I like to go with fun colors. Like I want something that pops a little bit more, and you'll see that in these two pairs here. All right, now these are like a sky blue. Really fun color, classic looking design, really simple. Pretty comfortable too for how old the model is. Again, you got that foam tongue, which is just so retro, I love it. Yeah, these are great. Also very inexpensive, you know, so once you beat them up and wear them out, just get another pair. But they are pretty durable. And I love that color. And just look at the suede quality on here. You know, for shoes that are under $100, you don't usually get that kind of quality of materials. And I like that the toe part is kind of mesh, so they're pretty breathable. Just a really comfortable, you know, everyday shoe. Let's take a look at the other color. Now this color is more of a fall, you know, Halloween type color, but I love it all the same. Check out my orange shoes. You know, orange is one of my favorite colors, and you wouldn't think that it would work on shoes, but as you guys can tell, I like to have some pops of orange on my sneakers. Again, great suede quality there. And it's the exact same thing, just in a different color. But yeah, I love my New Balance 574s, again, in these bright, fun colors. Okay, let's keep it moving. And you knew this shoe probably had to be somewhere on the list here, but let's take a look at the original Jordan from 1985, the Air Jordan 1. And this is a low top version, and this is not an original color either. But I like the neutral tones on this one. You know, these go with pretty much everything. Again, I've got the off-white laces in there to kind of match the aged looking outsole there. to make them look a little bit more like an actual vintage shoe. You know, the Air Jordan 1 is iconic. It is not the most comfortable shoe that I'm going to show you today. And as you can see, the leather on here is not good. It's almost like plasticky, like cardboard feeling almost. And you know, for what they charge for these things, that's kind of a shame. I do like the tongue. And the other pair of Jordan 1s that I'm going to show you today, they have a little bit better leather quality on them, but they're still pretty comfortable. You know, these could probably benefit from an insole. These do have an air unit in them, you know, Nike Air. That is in here, but it's like the 1985 version. Very basic, not a lot of cushioning, not a lot of padding. But they do get better with age. You know, the more you wear them, the more they break in. They get a little bit more comfortable. So I do wear these, you know, quite a bit. Let's take a look at another pair. And this is a mid-top version. You know, I've tried the high, like the original 1985 Jordan 1 high top, and I just can't, they're not as comfortable for me, you know, at my age. They bother my ankle a little bit. These do a little bit too, but not quite as bad. And I can get past it because the look of these, they just scream 1980s basketball to me. When you think about all the movies where we saw characters wearing shoes that looked something like this, you know, Marty McFly, I'm thinking of some others too, but like, they're usually really beat up. You know, everyone's shoes were just really worn out and beat up and no one cared. I'm kind of hoping that these will eventually get that way. They're still a little bit newer. I haven't worn them a ton. But you can see the leather quality difference here. Now this is like a pebbled, like a tumbled, at least it's trying to look like it is, type of leather. So it feels a little bit better. You know, it's a little softer, gives it a little bit more of an authentic vintage looking vibe. See that there? But yeah, what can I say about the Jordan 1? Extremely popular, of course, with the kids these days. And I like them every once in a while. Like I said, if you're not going to be on your feet all day, they're fine. And like I said before, they do get better the more you wear them. Now, sticking with Nike, but a shoe that is actually really comfortable. A model that came out, I believe, in 1991. And that's the Nike Air Harachi. Now I can remember seeing ads for these in magazines and just thinking these were so futuristic looking and awesome. I never actually had these as a kid. But I remember there was an Olympic athlete, I think it might have been Michael Johnson. If I can find the ad, I'll paste it in here so you can see. But I just remember thinking, oh wow, I bet I could run so fast in these things. You know, as a 10-year-old, you buy into that kind of hype. And just the materials here, it's like a neoprene. It's almost like a sock that you put on that's encased in a shoe, if that makes any sense. But that neoprene material is super comfortable. And for whatever reason, the leather on here is actually really soft and pliable. You know, I don't know why they choose to use, you know, soft leather on some models like this, which is not an expensive shoe, and then use like the really cheap cardboard feeling leather on some of their more expensive models. I don't know, but this is an original color of this shoe too. There was also like a blue and fluorescent green one that was awesome. Just quintessential early 90s. Now, I will say, if you ever decide to go with a pair of Harachis, I think the way that they were designed back in the day, they were meant to fit really snug, like really snug. I think that was kind of part of the gimmick. But, you know, I don't typically wear my shoes like that these days. I like a little bit of room, a little bit of give. So myself, I go up a full size, or at least a half size. I'm normally a size 11, 11 and a half, something like that. but for these I had to go with 12. And going up just a half size like that makes them actually really comfortable, really lightweight retro shoes there. So for these next couple of pairs, these are what I like to call beaters. You know, the shoes that you just throw on in the summertime and you don't care if you're running through the dirt and the mud and the grass in them, they're just beaters. And I actually think these types of shoes actually look better a little bit beat up. The first one is an A6 model from 1989. That's called the A6 Ex 89, I believe. These aren't very beat up yet. I haven't worn them enough to really, get them dirty. Quality's just okay. The leather's really stiff. They probably need to break in a little bit more. But the look is definitely there. I mean, you can tell it's a shoe from 1989, can you not? Another one that goes with everything. Great for the summertime. Good cushioning on this too, surprisingly. I buy a lot of these retro inspired, shoes, and this is actually one of the more comfortable ones. A similar model, but from Adidas, originating in 1984, and that's the Forum 84 Low. Very similar shoe. You can see I kind of have a type here of stuff that I like to wear, but that's okay. These are a little bit more beat up, very similar to the A6 on quality. They're not quite as comfortable. They're actually a little bit stiffer with less cushioning. I like that, just a little pop of gold there on the tongue with the Adidas. And you can see this one originally had a strap on it. It had like a Velcro white leather strap that went across. And it was just getting in the way, so I took it out. Probably doesn't look the best, but you can't tell unless you're really looking for it. A little bit of suede, mostly some pretty inexpensive feeling leather. But yeah, another good like beater shoe to wear with anything out and about when you don't care. It's raining, it's muddy. You don't care, if your shoes get messed up. Perfect for those types of occasions. Okay, let's dive into the mid-90s for this next one. And this is another Nike from 1996. And I can actually remember people in high school having these, and I always wanted a pair and never got them back then. And specifically, they had an Olympic one, like an Olympic version. And that is the Air Max Triax 96. And do you remember this Nike box? I feel like we all had a pair of Nikes in this box at one point or another, did we not? And man, these just scream mid-90s. Mid-90s, looking at them now, they look like a dad shoe, which is fine. I'm a dad. I'm okay with it. But you have that big air bubble, which helps a little bit with the comfort. And these are mostly just like a neoprene mesh with a little bit of leather. Quality's okay. And this is one that another Air Max model, similar to the Harachi. It just runs a little snug. This is an 11. I wish I would have gotten an 11.5 or a 12. They're still wearable, and I do wear them. But yeah, the Olympic color of this, I think instead of being black, white, and red, it was navy, white, and red, and it had like some gold hits. And those are the ones I remember people having the most. But this is an original color from back in 1996 as well. All right, we're gonna finish out with these last couple of pairs, both Nikes. This one from 1990, and that is the Air Max 90. Now this color that I have them in is not an original color. It's a more modern, up-to-date current color, which kind of takes away from it a little bit, but I just liked the tones on here. I felt like they would go with everything. But the original Air Max 90s, they usually had like a pop of like a fluorescent color on them somewhere, like a fluorescent yellow or like almost like a hot pink back when they first came out. Again, you got that air bubble. I just love the shape of these for, you know, a retro running shoe. And this color does go with everything. Pretty comfortable. Not the most comfortable, but not bad. Again, it's using technology from 1990, so you can't expect it to feel like one of today's, you know, modern running shoes. Materials are okay. They're a little different on this particular color than they are on some of the others. But you can't go wrong with the Air Max 90. It comes in so many different colors, and there's always lots of, they're easy to get usually. But yeah, really cool shoe from back in the day. Okay, let's wrap it up with one more pair. And we're gonna go way back for this one to 1982. And the original Nike Air Force One. Now the color that I have here isn't the all white one that you see most often, but it's still pretty simple and clean and classic looking. I feel like if you're looking for just a classic, you know, timeless looking 80s sneaker, you can't go wrong with an Air Force One. I mean, it doesn't get much more simple than that. You know, fairly comfortable. They do have Nike Air in them. Leather quality on this one, it's got like that imitation tumbled, pebbled leather, which makes it look a little nicer, but the leather quality itself still isn't fantastic. It's okay. It gets the job done. But yeah, really wearable, goes with pretty much everything. Now I will say, if you're not used to something like a thick sole like this, they definitely give you a little bit of height. This is not a lightweight shoe. It's definitely got some heft to it. So that might take a little getting used to if you haven't worn Air Force Ones before. And I think these actually also run a little bit big. Like, I think these are 11.5. I probably could have just done an 11 and been fine. These are pretty roomy. But been around forever, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. The Air Force One. Okay, and before I put everything away here, I want to just talk about a few pairs of shoes that I don't have an example of here today. But I just feel like I have to talk about them if I'm going to be, you know, discussing 80s and 90s sneakers. The first one is pretty obvious, and that's the Reebok Pump. What kid in the late 80s and early 90s did not want a pair of Reebok Pumps? I just thought those were so cool. I know they were really expensive for the time, which is probably why I never had a pair. But that gimmick just really had us believing that if we had those shoes and we bent over and pumped them up, that we would be able to jump higher and run faster. Just really cool. And I love the design on most of those too. If I didn't have such a hard time wearing high tops, I would really consider getting a pair of Reebok Pumps today. Another one I want to bring up. Does anyone remember British Knights? BKs. I think they had some kind of like Dimacell cushioning in the heel or something like that. I could be mixing that up with another brand, but I remember those ad campaigns too, and thinking that those were really cool sneakers. And some of the kids at school had some BKs. Anyone else remember those? And then I also want to bring up LA Gear, because I did have a pair of LA Gear shoes probably in 3rd or 4th grade, and these things were wild. If I can find a picture of them or a similar picture, I'll put it in here, but they had 3 sets of laces in each shoe. A white lace, a black lace, and a fluorescent green, like neon green lace. And you had to kind of manipulate those things and tie all 3 of them at once. They were wild looking, but you know, for the time period, they fit right in. Another really cool shoe that I hadn't thought about in a long time. And the last one is a Nike model from the very early 90s that's actually re-releasing this fall. And that's the Air Tech Challenge 2, which was Andre Agassi's sneaker when he was kind of entering his prime as a popular athlete. I just loved the way those things looked. Never had a pair, but I will be grabbing a pair this fall as long as I can get my hands on them, because I just think they are so cool. Late 80s, early 90s vibes all over those. Yeah, I can't wait. Air Tech Challenge 2. And there we are. So I hope that everyone found something interesting in this video. Something that took you back in time for a few minutes, or something that you could relate to. And if so, consider subscribing. But for now, and as always, relax, enjoy life, and be kind. We'll see you in the next one.